Hey everybody, well, I'm going to duck down a little bit so the NVIDIA Omniverse doesn't get blocked or my head doesn't get blocked. Welcome to the NVIDIA Omniverse live stream. As you can see, and why I'm ducking down a little bit, we have two special guests with us in addition to Richard. We are going to be covering the amazing event of GTC, which Rafi actually had a, it was awesome. Rafi and Chris were both there. I'm going to change this thing because I am going to hurt my back. Let me get this off. There we go. Okay, now I can stand up. Ooh, that was good. All right. So so GTC just wrapped up a few weeks ago, and all of us here that you're looking at, we're there in person, and we were just talking just a minute ago about how different it is to attend an event like GTC Live. And the networking and the personal relationships and business relationships that get started or nurtured while you're there. A great example of that is Rafi and Chris, who knew each other a little bit before GTC, but really took their relationship to the next level while they were there. So let's go around and do some quick introductions, and then I'll go news, and then we'll get into the topic of the show, which is developer insights on the impact of OpenUSD and Gen AI. Rafi basically spent GTC interviewing a whole different categories of people about OpenUSD and Gen AI, people from NVIDIA and from outside. So we're going to show clips of some of those interviews, and the full interviews will be actually released in the coming weeks. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's see who we have here. We obviously have my partner in crime, Richard. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Very good. And Richard has been practicing for a little dance he'll do in a second when I play this little montage video, I think.
Only if you'll dance.
We have Zia from the community actually put together a nice little montage video of pictures from GTC. So we'll play that in a second. And Rafi, thank you so much for coming today. Two Omniverse ambassadors here. Chris and Rafi are both Omniverse ambassadors. But Rafi, thank you so much for coming today.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
It was amazing to be able to spend time with you at GTC, and I just loved watching you interview the people we're going to kind of show previews of today. Number one, the interview candidates that you talked to are just fantastic and experts on the different areas. So it was really great to hear you kind of pick their brain of different things. But also, I was just so amazed with all the questions and the commentary you had. You really had done your research on everybody you met with, and that kind of really shows nicely in these interviews. So thanks for joining us. I can't wait to get into this with you in a few minutes. And Mr. Scott, no stranger to the live streams or to my cell phone. How you doing, man?
What's going on? Nice to see you guys. Rafi, I owe you an email.
Well, it's great to see you. Yeah, so this is going to be a fun time. So people, feel free to, anyone watching, feel free to post your comments or questions in the chat. Also regarding GTC, as you can see on the screen, those sessions are now available on demand for viewers. And I believe it's available right now for everybody who had registered for GTC, either on-site or virtually. And then if you didn't register for GTC virtually, which was free actually, I believe that other sessions open up for everybody in the world very shortly. But I think right now they're available for anyone who registered. If you're having any difficulty watching a session, please let us know. Our other partner in crime, Amelia, is managing the chat, and she will post the link for the NVIDIA On Demand for everyone to be able to check out those sessions. I've been getting a lot of amazing feedback from people, not only who were at GTC and saw these sessions live, but also from many members of the community who watch these sessions either during GTC remotely or just watching them after GTC now, about how much high quality they were. So you really can get a lot out of GTC, even if you weren't able to be there. So take full advantage of those GTC sessions available on NVIDIA On Demand. It's a really fantastic resource. We, in addition to the sessions, we also made obviously a lot of announcements during GTC. Last week, we had a fantastic live stream with Richard here and Siemens. Ian from Siemens joined us. It was just really mind blowing how Siemens is leveraging OpenUSD for the industrial metaverse, and including this project that's on the screen right now, which Richard actually showed off during GTC at the NVIDIA booth. Really fascinating, and it really just shows how important it is for people to get familiar and dive into OpenUSD development. And lots of great resources online, not only in our YouTube channel, but also with NVIDIA On Demand, and also DLI, which is the NVIDIA's Deep Learning Institute. So take full advantage of all the resources to up your knowledge on OpenUSD and learn how you can develop. And then finally, we have a great challenge that was just announced concerning OpenUSD. Just announced a couple of weeks ago. It's called #OpenUSD Challenge. We would love to see, especially people who are just diving in, share your project. Just use that hashtag on social media. There's more information in the chat, and that link on the screen. But all we're looking for is basically to kind of show and tell. And you can share your work in progress and get feedback and help on the Omniverse community Discord server, which is discord.gg/NVIDIA Omniverse. We'll also post the link for that in the chat in a second. But we're already seeing some fantastic projects. Actually, there's one that was just posted on Discord and on social media yesterday. I'll see if we can get the link and post it in the chat. But really fantastic work from Drew from the community. So we will show that in a second. I'm sorry, paste that link in a second. But now let's get started with the GTC party. So Rafi, first of all, I have to ask you. So what made you come to GTC? You're based in London, right? You want to tell everybody a little about your background?
Sure. Yeah, I've worked in media and entertainment for something like 25 years. So my background is less tech. It's a lot more to do with storytelling and media production, making films and series and animation. Technology is obviously part of it, but it hasn't been the focus. But about 4 years ago, I set up a story studio called Falcon and Storm. And with this studio, I've been transforming tech companies with the power of story and creative vision, which makes their amazing tech matter to more people. And at the same time, some of my clients are media and entertainment studios that have been around for ages, and I help them advance their production capabilities with smarter choices in tech. So I kind of bridge the gap both ways. I help tech companies bring more emotion to their tech, and I help people who are very skilled at emotional storytelling advance their capabilities with tech. So the role of Omniverse has played a big part in the work that I do at Falcon and Storm, and in realizing my own animated show. I use Omniverse with the connectivity and benefits of USD and the infrastructure to really create an animated show in multiple formats with a real forward-facing view on what a show is today. So because of all of that, I've been really immersed myself since the pandemic in the hardware and software that NVIDIA brings to change media and entertainment. So that's what really drove me to see who else is using this stuff in media entertainment, and to kind of discover what other industries are out there and other creators are out there in different sectors that I could sort of meet and learn from. And it was really eye-opening, frankly. When we get into some of the examples, there are industries that I never thought I would have any sort of anything to contribute to. Turns out a lot of the skills are transferable, mainly because of the common infrastructure that we talk about all the time on Omniverse.
Yeah, that's a good point. OpenUSD really does connect lots of industries together and workflows that before just were impossible to connect, and we're very siloed from each other. So, and we also have a fantastic live stream with you from a few months ago where you go over how you're leveraging OpenUSD in your own workflow for your show, Art Squad. So I highly recommend people go check out that live stream because it's fantastic. And the number of apps you're using really runs the gamut. And also you're even leveraging VR. to stage your scenes, I think, which is really cool and inspiring. And all that being said, you don't even consider yourself, which I find so funny, you don't consider yourself to be highly technical, which is, I think, highly inspiring for everyone else out there.
Well, I don't, because, I don't code. I don't write Python, and I barely know how to do Unreal blueprints, which are meant to be the no code solution. I'm very much an artist first. And, I have, I'm really lucky. I have really great technical partners. For example, there's a UK company called Scan Computers, and, they provide me with my workstation. And when I need some technical troubleshooting, they're always there to help me out, because they live and breathe not just media and entertainment production, but AI solutions for enterprise. They do cloud services for all kinds of sectors. And in fact, they partnered with me at GTC. They had a booth for Scan AI Solutions as their booth, and their YouTube channel is where a lot of these interviews are going out, on Scan AI Solutions. And because they're my tech partner, I guess I'm kind of spoiled, right? So they handle the tech side of things. They're experts at that sort of stuff. And with them, I went out to GTC to capture some interviews and get some insights from people who are really at the bleeding edge of this technology.
They seem like the perfect partner. I had a blast hanging out with them at GTC and their booth. A really fantastic crew. So shout out to all those folks who helped out. So all these interviews that we're going to see previews for in a few minutes, or highlights, these are going to be available in the coming weeks on the Scan AI YouTube channel. So we'll post that link there. We highly recommend everyone subscribe to that channel, so you'll get the notifications of videos as soon as they come out. And the interviews are roughly between 10 and 20 minutes each, I would say. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. The snippets that we're going to play today are like about a minute each.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And Chris Scott was one of those interviewees. I don't know if he made you put any hardball questions in there for you, Chris, but it was really awesome also to see you at GTC. And what was your mission there? What made you decide to want to go, and kind of what'd you walk away from it with? Oh, your mic. There you go.
Yeah, our mission was we built and designed the full Omniverse app for Ursaleo, and we deployed on GDN. And so one was to make sure that went off well, and that speech and everything for the presentation went well, which was great. And then the second thing is to get with the community and say hi to everybody on top of that. And I also had DLI training. So did the certified training classes for DLI, because I think that Omniverse, as soon as you get past all the technical people, you need to go to the non-technical. And I've been trying to push with all the companies I work with, which is like, what is a full loop interaction from great, we created a digital twin with AI. Can somebody loop that back around to what that's going to mean for me? And so I've been pushing for that. And what else did we do? Meet everybody, and that's it. And then I met Rafi and had my first interview. So it was a lot of fun. He's so good at it.
All right, cool. Well, everyone will see that snippet in a few minutes. Why don't we, to get everyone to the spirit and kind of feel like we're in the midst of GTC, let me play this nice video montage made by Zia from the community. And this gives you a sneak peek of what GTC kind of looked like from one point of view from the ground. And we'll be back in just about 2 minutes. So get your questions ready, and then we'll kick off these first highlights with Rafi. And
feel free to dance to it too.
You feel free to dance. You actually, Richard will be off camera, but you can imagine he'll be dancing. Here we go.
Okay.
it's a robot that basically it's what we all expect from a robot, which is understanding what we say, grasping objects and moving in space. So we can ask the robot to move objects in environments for photos. So that's a robot building it still and during the industrialization.
You can shake hand?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
And what does it like, guys? We just rotating everywhere. But yeah, we use NVIDIA hardware.
Yes.
Basically two NVIDIA Jetsons.
Nice.
One here and one here.
Nicely done.
Which Jetsons do you use?
We use the NX form factor. NX.
Yeah.
We just learned about the Jetson Thor.
Yeah.
So probably we'll use Jetson Thor.
That last bit was for all the Isaac fans out there. There was plenty of robots at GTC, which was also pretty amazing to walk around. So anyways, hope you got a little
that's
bit.
my only regret, Edmar.
Yeah, what's that?
That I didn't get to interview that robot.
That would have been awesome. Well, there's always next time. GTC is always around the corner. So now hopefully everyone gets a little feel kind of what it was like on the show floor. I think I saw Chris Scott like 100 times running all over the place. So I know he was very busy. Another person who I saw running around a little bit was Michael Wagner, and had some great time with our another Omniverse ambassador, Michael Wagner. You got to sit down and chat with him. Michael's been doing some amazing things, right? Not only is he one of the leads of Epilog, he also founded SyncTwin, which is enabling digital twins for industries, so that companies can go there and really get a head start on your digital twin with SyncTwin. So you sat down talking to him. What was the focus of your chat with him?
Well, so earlier I mentioned how eye-opening it was to speak with others who use Omniverse in various sectors. So Michael is someone who I had met briefly on a previous live stream, just in the Omniverse community, but I hadn't fully grasped what his product was. It's called SyncTwin, and basically the goal of SyncTwin is to enable sort of small to medium-sized enterprises in the industrial, manufacturing, and factory sectors to virtualize either an existing factory so they can find opportunities for transformation, or before they break ground to create a digital version of it and problem solve in advance, so it's less expensive and less problematic. So it's great because that's usually something that really big companies can afford to do, but not smaller companies. And as I was talking to him, I realized that is very much in parallel to the virtual production journey in filmmaking, where it was, if you had Mandalorian budgets, well, that's what you need for virtual production, but that's no longer the case. So that was an interesting parallel. And so, when he talked about his process, it also felt like the way we approach stuff in Omniverse isn't that dissimilar to each other. They just happen to be for different purposes. For him, accuracy is really important because he's dealing with real world stuff. For me, in feature film or animation storytelling, it's less about accuracy and it's more about still handling large amounts of data in an effective way. So yeah, but let's play a clip from him, and then we'll come back and I'll add a little bit more color to it.
Okay, here's Michael Wagner with Rafi.
Tell us about SyncTwin, your company, what you're doing in the digital twin space, and what's your offer in this space?
With SyncTwin, we're offering, enabling the small and medium-sized enterprises for the industrial metaverse. So in my other company, Epilog, we've been working with a big OEM like BMW and their Factoryverse project.
Yeah.
And it was a revelation to me, working in Omniverse and this fully holistic digital twin.
Yeah.
And we said we have to bring this to the smaller, to the suppliers, to the small and medium-sized enterprises, and make this available to them. And that's why we founded SyncTwin, and we try to bring them into the Omniverse with as little as effort as possible. So these guys, they use like Excel sheets with their data, PowerPoint with their layouts, and we use this and transform it into OpenUSD components with full metadata, and so they can get the benefits of digital twins and simulate their projects and production, so they can optimize their resources and their processes basically.
But an amazing person.
Yeah,
What was that, Rafi?
He's a wonderful guy, and so generous with his knowledge, and really, genuinely interested in how the community is using this stuff, and the possibilities of Gen AI combined with OpenUSD, combined with virtual environments. And when we were talking about OpenUSD, he was really passionate about how robust it is for layering information to build out very complex, detailed, and accurate digital representations of real-world construction, which is what his clients really care about, but also the accurate simulations of scenarios to validate plans before building the physical thing. So he's a great person to get in touch with if this is the sort of sector or area you're interested in or working in right now, because SyncTwin, as you heard him describe, it's very accessible. It's making it very accessible, right? You take your PowerPoint and Excel data and convert it to something that's spatial and 3D. That's that's pretty accessible right there.
Absolutely. And one of the things I heard a lot at GTC on the floor, there are a lot of people who came from different companies and different industries, kind of just learning about digital twins for the first time and wanting to know how to get started. And SyncTwin is a kind of a perfect example, like you said, of how you can ramp up pretty quickly, leveraging existing tools made by SyncTwin. So I think we'll post a link in the chat for SyncTwin's website. It's SyncTwin.ai. But this is just a peek at the fuller interview you had with Michael Wagner, and that will be coming out soon.
That'll be up on the 18th.
Great, awesome.
On the Scan AI Solutions YouTube channel.
Okay, great. So tomorrow, April 18th.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Wow. So you don't have to wait too long to watch the rest of that. Okay, that's fantastic. And then another person that I thought was really fascinating that I met with at GTC, who I had known from previous work in the community before, is Conrad Curtis from Virtual Production Partners, and his work kind of has similar to you in a way in terms of virtual production, but he's actually doing some really interesting things. We're going to have a live stream with Conrad soon. Because he's got this great extension he's been building for filmmakers called StoryTwin. But what did you and Conrad talk about?
So Conrad and I, obviously, with our shared passion for using technology to create more artist-friendly and real-time sort of feedback as a production environment, and in some ways, what he's doing is similar to Michael in that Conrad's empowering more productions of all sizes with meaningful collaboration in virtual production. So, I after GTC, I went to LA for some meetings, and I caught up with him and checked out his lab, his stage that he's got in LA, and he demoed that product that you mentioned to me. So it's a very scalable product, and it's using so many parts of Omniverse to make it happen. It's got like an auto green screening tool that feeds in the live video data along with spatially coherent data to inform a Omniverse, USD composer scene in real time. So it's really exciting. And then once you're in there, you can just drop in whatever you want, whether it's a sky dome or if you've got 3D animated characters. And because he's got his camera mounted to a tracker as well, it all syncs up beautifully. And because it's built in Omniverse, it can be deployed on the cloud or it can be on local compute. So he's really taken those foundational elements that Omniverse has been talking about lately and building a really scalable, smart, and portable virtual production solution. So that's kind of what we talked about.
Yeah, that's great. I got to spend some more time with him also. I didn't get to see a studio like you did, so that's awesome. But we got to spend some time outside the show floor in the local pub, I think, and it was a good time. So let's play this clip from Conrad. His live stream will be coming up in May, I believe. So you don't have to wait too long for his live stream here, but his interview also, full interview, will be coming out shortly. And let's watch this clip. We're right back.
What are some of the key technologies that you like to use within the virtual production context? Because there's so many different things to use, VR and whatnot.
Yeah, so we've been working with a company called Lightcraft Technology that's been doing real-time virtual production since 2004. We helped them re-engineer their product from a $100,000 camera tracking compositing system, something runs in an iOS app. And the first time we used it was actually in Omniverse. We were rendering on a box in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I was on the beach in Santa Monica. It was tethered to a phone, and we were able to previs and shoot in, with a 12-frame delay. So we worked with them to make their entire process more real time. It runs all locally in USDZ now, but it allowed us to spend time in Omniverse and understand that being connected to all of the creators wherever they work at is the superpower, right? And one of the things that we try to focus on is leveraging the things that are already being created. So the art department is already creating 3D assets. The lighting department might be working in Vectorworks. How do we take all of these different tools and bring them together in one digital twin in order to allow people to spend more time inside of their movies before it's time to make it? Because once you're making it, you can't really slow down, right?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
That's
so there's some awesome soundbite there, taking a $100,000 solution that is now possible on the iPad thanks to the work that he's doing. So that's the kind of scalable sort of approach that he's taking. And it's really exciting. And hopefully in his stream, he can show you some of the demos he showed me, and maybe even show you the studio and how it all connects together. Because when you start to see a tangible example of this stuff in place, you start to realize how this is really going to transform companies who embrace it in their workflow. Chris Chris's company Evolver is one such company that uses this not necessarily for virtual production, but for the clients that you do and the sectors you do, Chris. I mean, it's some of these technologies are plugging into your system in a modular and scalable way too, right?
Well, more than you know. So we have Josh Kerr on staff. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's in the UK. He's a virtual production technologist with Unreal Engine. He's actually another Lightcraft person. So we've been using Lightcraft from Lightcraft beta. I just don't tell anybody what we do. So yeah, we're bringing in virtual production because we needed the fastest way to we don't do a lot of storytelling, but what people understand is a sense of scale in other humans and people. As I say that, it's like I'm a robot. So yeah, so Lightcraft is a fantastic technology. It's really cool. I think it's actually better than the way they demonstrated. I think the way they demonstrated it didn't even give it justice until you actually see it running and working. Because on their website, it's pretty good, but in reality, it's even better. So I'm a huge fan of Lightcraft.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you know the date that Conrad's interview is going to go live?
Yep, that's on the 25th. So that's just over a week.
Okay, awesome. So again, check the chat. We posted a link for ScanAI's YouTube page where these are going live. Full interviews with each of these people. We're seeing just quick highlights right now, and let's watch the highlight with actually Chris. Yes, yeah, man, you're going to play your video. You're going to be all over the place in a second. All right, so let's watch this chat with Chris and Rafi from GTC just a few weeks ago.
How do you feel about GTC today and where we need to go for GTC, of the future?
That's an excellent question. What I see GTC today is that everybody's starting their AI journey and their pathway moving forward. And so you're seeing a little bit of people putting together 1 or 2 or 3 AI systems. And Jensen set the stage yesterday, or sets the stage this week, about what AI is going to look like. And we're going to need more and more. And a part of that system of moving forward to a future where Jensen sees, because I believe Jensen is absolutely right, that we're going to have a system of AI that we can move through any type of user interface, and you want to remove technology.
Yeah, and that's a key quote there that stood out to me. You want to remove technology. Chris, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? Because it was a very succinct but insightful a moment in your interview, I thought, that really summed up the whole point of all of this.
Right. So I do a lot of work. Like I used to be a roughneck. I did well drilling, and that put me through college. And so what we're seeing in the labor workforce and construction and all of these places is that the domain of information, so the old guys who know stuff, needs to pass on to the younger people, and the younger people not necessarily want to do that labor, but also we have an ability coming up in the future with robots and AI to make every job really concise and turning small jobs into more powerful, valuable jobs, which means everybody makes more money. And so what I meant like getting technology away is when you're out there and it's raining and you've got gloves on and you need to update like an oil rig or a machine, or even if you're on set, like for virtual production, you want to be able to press a button or just talk to somebody. Like right now it's Siri, but obviously you guys would have your own internal. And my goal, my future is to say like, to basically go like, hey, whatever assistant, what is in front of me? Let me capture this real quick, and then please update the documentation. And so you don't want to have to go through the computers. You don't have to do it. You want to remove technology from people. And so the goal is with AI is like they can see what we're doing, they can hear what we're doing, and they do most of our remedial work so that we can get on with like our real work.
Right. So where computer vision and voice recognition can become that assistant, that little, that being that's with you all the time to really give you tailored support, I guess.
Right. And that's a part of it. Or like I have an AI right now that manages our project management. So I only want to know when something's about to fall off, not when something did fall off. And so that allows me to like basically step away from having to run. I'm a big component of making sure things don't take up mind share. So just because you're not working on a project, but if you're mentally working on it, then you're not really working on the other task in front of you. And so that's where I'm really excited about AI coming up.
Yeah.
Sorry, community managed work never stops. I had to ban someone from our Discord really quick. I caught it. Anyway, so okay, so Chris, and I have to say also regarding Chris's work, Chris has probably the most experience out of anyone in the community with OpenUSD and Omniverse. He's been in there since the beginning, so I think it's been fascinating to learn the number of applications and verticals that you've been applying your learnings to. I think just the other, I feel like every time we talk, I'm like, what, you're doing that? Including oil and gas. And you just shared that you did that kind of work when you were younger. So I think that's fascinating. Is there anything, Chris, you would say to people? I know one of the reasons why you were at GTC was to kind of, help engage with more people and let them know that this is a great time to really start diving in and embracing this for your company. Is there anything you want to let kind of any message you had there for companies that are just kind of like looking at the concept of digital twins or leveraging OpenUSD and how you think they should take a look at it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, one of the advantages of GTC was I got with the SketchUp team and the Revit team, and just to talk to them because like they're going to be pushing forward. OpenUSD, you can read it, you can modify it, you can add applications. It's open, right? Because like if you look at an FBX file, good luck. And so having that is a place where the data can go in and out. And that's really what you want, because right now if something goes to Unreal Engine, it's locked under a Unreal Engine. But like, let's say I can get that back from Unreal Engine, throw it back into my CAD program and edit that in terms that can like impact actual engineering instead of it going to die. And so right now, USD is under a massive change to really just take over all the file formats. And what that means for us is like, it just takes over a better way to communicate. And that's what OpenUSD is. The best way to communicate, something that scales, something you can have multiple collaborations with. And you can't really introduce that type of like collaboration without doing OpenUSD, and it's absolutely fantastic. And this is just the beginning, and I think people should start now because this is a great starting point. I think 4 years ago when I started, there was a lot of pain and suffering, but I think right now is a great time.
Yeah, and it sounds like a complete no-brainer to us, right? It was like, well, of course. And anyone who's starting out in CG now is like, well, of course, why wouldn't there be this kind of interoperability? But really, it's always been proprietary formats for the longest time. And had you said to me, 5 or 6 years ago, that there will be a common format that all the big players get behind, and it eases interoperability and it signals the end of proprietary formats, I'd say, well, that's never going to happen because the entire industry is based on proprietary and all of that stuff. But lo and behold, here we are. And as a user, I couldn't be happier about this. And it was instrumental in me choosing Omniverse 3 years ago when it was sort of just came out of beta, or when it wasn't beta, when it was a public beta. It was instrumental in choosing Omniverse because I'd heard about USD, but none of the applications out there had embraced it. So it was really hard for me, not being a coder or anything, to investigate USD. RenderMan was the only one that supported USD, but it was still kind of, nothing else connected to it. But Omniverse's implementation of it really brought so many of the advantages that I use today, brought it and made it accessible to me. And that's really what really transformed my ability to visualize my shows from a pitch deck with just drawings to final pixel animation, and it was the starting point of that. And whatever happens with Omniverse as it evolves, the fact that USD is its foundation and it's helped unlock this ecosystem is, it was such a game changer. And I can say that from someone who's worked in media and entertainment for like 20 odd years. It really moved the needle for me. Yeah.
That, on that point, we also just got a question a second ago from the chat. I'll pop it up on the screen. But yeah, this is for you, Rafi. From Nandu. For someone who's good at animation, how do you suggest they get started in Omniverse?
Well, you're assuming I'm good at animation for a start.
I mean, I love watching your clips from Art Squad. I think the stuff I've seen in progress looks fantastic.
Oh, thank you. So that's a really good question, actually. So if you're good at animation, I guess if it's the craft of animation, like character animation, making characters seem alive and that they're thinking and feeling emotions, if you're good at that, whatever application you use to do that, I'm assuming it's 3D animation, CG animation, whatever application you use to do that, stick to that, whatever you're comfortable using. But know that you can, by connecting it to Omniverse, it opens you up to a whole ecosystem of apps that can speed up how you present the animation, how you render the animation, and how you move it beyond just the character moving in a convincing way, but the way you might texture it, the way you might put it into a scene, into an environment, all of that can be really supercharged by Omniverse. Now, Omniverse USD Composer has some basic animation tools in there, but unless you're doing simple animation and not character animation, I would do character animation in your application of choice, like Maya or Blender, and connect Blender directly into Omniverse. And what's wonderful about that is you can continue animating in Blender in one window and have Omniverse open on the right and see it being rendered in real time in whatever quality you want, with real lights, ray tracing if you want, and you can have Substance Painter open and apply the textures on the fly. And in fact, there's a workflow video I shared with the NVIDIA Studio team. So if you follow that YouTube channel, NVIDIA Studio, you'll see some examples of how I've got an animated character in Blender, and I'm still working on the keyframes, but it updates in real time because it's USD based to the fully rendered scene in Omniverse. And while you might think, okay, that's just a magic trick, a fancy trick, but actually it has real implications on how productive you are, being able to see your animation in the proper context. So that, if you're good at animation, I think the way you get started in Omniverse is start with your animation editor of choice, like your DCC of choice, and start with one connection to Omniverse. Whether you want to apply textures from Substance automatically and instantly, that could be what drives you. Or if you want to see it rendered in a ray trace scene, that could be what drives you. So start with one connection, and then soon you realize it's very easy to connect multiple other apps in your ecosystem to have this kind of constant update between all the apps is what I would do.
That was a great answer. Thanks, Nandu, for that great question. And I see Michael Wagner has joined the chat. Michael, if you missed it, we actually played a clip from your interview a little earlier, so you can rewind this and watch it later if you want to see your great snippet. And that interview is going to go live not
tomorrow.
too soon. Yeah, tomorrow. Okay, cool. So, as developers start to leverage Omniverse and the API access, which was announced during GTC, a lot more exciting stuff to come on that. You also got to chat with a pioneer with synthetic data, Chris over at Rendered.ai, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a real eye opener for me because I had read about synthetic data, but he was so good at explaining the use case and actually some of the history behind synthetic data. So with Rendered.ai, the need that they address is that there isn't enough data out there in the real world to train algorithms. Possible reasons are maybe security, or it's proprietary data, so you can't sort of just use it, or more often than not, it's data that you're gathering today, say via satellite, that won't be ready for a few years because it needs to consider amount of size, it needs to be processed. So what do? Rendered creates synthetic data to bridge the gap with the knowledge that they do have, and then when the new knowledge comes in, they can update it. But you need something in the interim, otherwise you're just waiting around for data. And their focus is on computer vision, so image-based data, but not the kind of images like RGB images, the photographs that we take. They focus on stuff like physically accurate, wavelength-specific data. So things like radar or hyperspectral imaging, multispectral imaging, X-ray. Now that's all stuff that's way out of my knowledge base, right? Because I obviously deal with RGB images and stuff that we can see normally. So it was really interesting speaking to him and broadened my horizons. And I think that's what I would say about GTC in general. It's a real opportunity to broaden your understanding of what else is out there and what other industries are out there. So let's play a clip from that, and I'll add some more color afterwards.
All right, here's Chris Andrews from Rendered.ai.
Before you go through the lengthy and costly process of training and to figure out whether you should even train with that in the first place, you're kind of using Rendered to validate some of your hypotheses.
Yeah.
Is that
that's one of the key uses is and we call it overcoming barriers to innovation, right? So I know I want to do, I have this new idea for an interesting sensor. There's a lot of physics involved in designing it, a lot of engineering. It's going to be super expensive. Well, what if I could simulate imaging from that sensor before I even start the factory production process? Then what you get is and this isn't just unique to the satellite world. I was in the building information modeling world for a long time, and the BIM world is all about increasing information and coordination about projects early to reduce changes later, which are more expensive.
Yeah.
And what we're doing on the AI side is something very much analogous, where we're helping customers test ideas, test sensor parameters, even platform parameters. One of the, and by platform I mean like the satellite vehicle or the drone vehicle, or even the mounted post that something is going to be mounted on. We can do things like simulate vibration, simulate it's called flutter, different types of motion when a satellite skips on the atmosphere.
Wow.
And so all of those things impact the imagery that's going to be collected, and they therefore would impact the training that happens from the algorithm.
Yeah, so a great soundbite for him there is overcoming barriers to innovation. So their web-based platform kind of allows customers to configure and deploy the simulations he was just talking about to determine the data they should use in their training system. So before they even train the system, if they've got a notion of like, oh, there's an opportunity here to train it in certain things, rather than go down the time-consuming and costly route to end up in a dead end or end up with invalid results. It's really smart to then use AI to preempt some of those things. And synthetic data, as I learned at GTC, synthetic data has been used for years for training autonomous vehicle systems. So it's not necessarily a new thing, but with non-imagery problem domains, synthetic data is also becoming, as I understand it, well established for use in building and representing data sets for everything from AI training to even just validating, as he put it. So yeah, very insightful stuff, certainly for me. And Chris's full interview will be live on the Scan AI Solutions YouTube channel at the end of the month, April 30th.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, so many applications for that. We posted the link for Chris's website, Rendered.ai. So be sure to check that out and watch a full interview in a couple of weeks. Another fascinating interview you chatted with is from CG Hero, and I believe their name is being changed to Hero Inc., which is great. I'm really curious, actually, to learn what your conversation with him was, because they basically have a really cool platform. So say you're looking to get started in this work, you don't know where to begin, you don't have anyone in your company with that set of expertise with OpenUSD or Python, you could go to CG Hero, or soon to be Hero Inc.'s website, and you can find the talent you need for your project. But they also have another part of the solution, which is basically helping with the management of the project. What did you guys chat about?
Well, one of the things we touched on is that they're an NVIDIA Inception partner. So, that has been really, really instrumental in them embracing the vision they've had for Hero Inc. for a while. So they've been going for several years. And at the beginning, the platform was really a collaborative system for finding talent and assembling teams for any kind of CG related production, and that web platform has always facilitated and supported kind of a distributed network of collaborators. So that's been handy there, but that hasn't always been that. I mean, in fact, that wasn't the extent of their vision. They've always wanted to create a platform that allowed for real-time collaboration with CG productions. So, just connecting people and all of that is really valuable, of course, finding a talent. But as cloud services get more powerful and more robust, they're finally able to kind of realize something that's even more valuable to the industry, which is being able to essentially have Google Docs equivalent for CG creation, right? So the fact that some of the GTC announcements, like the cloud services really advancing, along with NVIDIA's Gen AI, sort of, what do they call them, NIMs, right? The inference microsystems, as well as the Omniverse environment also being cloud powered now. All of those things are now making it possible for them to come up with a solution where artists and creators can collaborate in a web-based cloud-served environment and still have high-quality visuals, which everything always had to go offline, right? Just you connect people and you chat online, but all the work would be done offline. But with USD and the real-time updates, now that exciting vision that they've always had for Hero Inc. is within reach. So that was kind of a lot of what our discussion was about. And let's play a clip from Jonathan, because he explains things really simply and really well.
Okay, here we go. Here's Jonathan Lloyd from Hero Inc.
So what are some of the technologies that were announced this week, or maybe have reached a new standard this week, that has got you excited about what it means for CG Hero?
The USD pipelines are a big change for the industry. That's going to vastly simplify things, going to make things a lot easier.
I use USD all the time in the production of my show, so I totally hear what you're saying.
Absolutely, and doing that cloud-based as well, bringing that together, bringing people together around different production, file management in the cloud, being able to do that now with Omniverse is a lot simpler. Before, it would take a lot of time. You'd have to, especially creative production, you're downloading a lot of assets. You're typically building Unreal Engine, Unity, other things, and it's quite challenging. Then bringing clients into the mix or stakeholders into that is more challenging again. So having a system like ours that we're building allows clients to come into that production at the same time as people working real time through the platform.
And that's it, isn't it? It's that real-time feedback loop that's such a game changer with these underlying technologies.
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially with the fidelity that the cloud APIs now allow for RTX streaming in high quality. And if you can get photorealistic RTX streaming, then it means stylized stuff should be just as easy to, and if not easier to deliver.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's also based in the UK too, right?
Yeah, he's based in the UK, but CG Inc. is a global network.
Well, we posted the link for that in the chat so everybody can see it, and we'll update the description after live stream, so this will be there as well. And someone was asking earlier, is this live stream available that you're watching right now on YouTube? And it's available immediately after on our YouTube channel, so people can watch this if you missed the beginning or any parts. Do you know when your interview is going live with Jonathan?
Yes, that'll be May 13th.
Okay, cool, awesome.
Hold on, can I speak on that real quick? So
yeah.
With CG Hero, like I'm also a CG Hero person, and so what happens is that in the game industry as CG, it's evolving, right? Because now you look at film and television, there's a lot of AI built into that, and so that's where they're having the shift, is because it's that talent pool is now greater than just CG, and so anybody outside looking for CG artists, great, they know where to go. But if you're looking for AI artists or programmers, like CG is now evolving, and so that's why they're evolving with it.
Yeah, so it encompasses more. By calling it Hero Inc., it encompasses a lot more than the traditional definition of CG.
Right, because on a virtual production stage, like we're a great talent. We can produce all of your back-end security. We can do your asset stores. We can manage it locally. We can deploy on just about every network out there. But we are not CG artists. But we can get all of your team together for production. And but I wasn't a part of the CG VFX production. But if you want to talk about like making a key impact on getting everybody collaborating and working, like. Cool. So that's why it's a big switch over.
So that interview will be available in a few weeks from now. So check that out. Also on Scan AI's YouTube page. Okay, so now you also got a chance to sit down with some NVIDIA folks, which is fantastic. I think the first person we're going to play is Michael Kaplan, who I just met for the first time at GTC myself. I'm a huge Michael Kaplan fan, and love his work. He's doing some really, really amazing things for NVIDIA here and for the public. So what did you guys chat about?
Well, he's a media and entertainment guy. So am I. So that was basically the topic of discussion.
Talk shop.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was in the context of the announcements that were made at the keynote. So his interview kind of runs through some of those key announcements in context of media entertainment. And in fact, that interview we posted just yesterday. In fact, so you can watch the whole thing. It's up on the Scan AI channel. But the clip we have here is he talks about NIMs. We mentioned NIMs earlier, and what NIMs offer the media entertainment industry at a much needed time, because a lot of these AI models and solutions are coming out at such a quick pace. There needs to be a way of presenting it and managing it for industries so that people can get their head around it and find a route in. And that's what NIMs really offer for media entertainment companies. So let's play that clip, because Michael says it best.
Okay, so here is NVIDIA's Michael Kaplan.
I really want to start with some of the keynote announcements that's got you excited about media and entertainment.
I love the keynote. It was loaded with a ton of information. The way I want to start talking about it, almost in the order of how it was presented, we talked about NVIDIA Inference Microservice, or NIM. NIM is a way, it's the way we've taken a lot of our libraries and have accelerated them and put them into a nice clean container that's accessible to our customers and partners for an easy on-ramp to the generative AI roadway. sometimes people don't want to do a lot of software development and coding, and they don't want to take, weeks and months of doing the
I'm one of them.
And that's what NIM is for, and it's going to help somebody like yourself get started quickly because we've done a lot of the hard work for you. That was the first thing that I really was impressed with.
So that sounds really compelling, especially for somebody like me who's going the no-code route.
Sure.
Where do I go to get started? Is there a URL or?
Perfect. Yeah, we made an announcement yesterday about ai.nvidia.com, and please hit that up, check it out. It's going to be a great landing site where you actually can start to test out software. You'll find how you take your next steps towards production, and all the tools are there. It's a great location to really start or go back and validate that what you're doing today is the right thing. ai.nvidia.com.
There you go. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. Awesome. In fact, I didn't.
Everyone should definitely check out that URL, ai.nvidia.com. Amazing resources, great website for those looking to on-ramp. Now you also spoke to another NVIDIAN, Craig Barr, I believe. Tell me a little bit about your conversation with Craig.
Yeah, Craig was great. That's first time meeting him as well. And he'd been doing some hands-on demos there on the shop floor. While Michael brought sort of like an overarching vision and contextualizing the announcements, what Craig did was Craig really demonstrated how some of those innovations are really playing out for the community and for the for the companies who were exhibiting there. So let's play a clip from him, and I'll add a bit of color at the end.
Okay, and this is Craig Barr talking about enterprise. Here we go.
So Jensen mentioned multimodal training, if I've got that term correctly. And the way I understood it is, I guess a single modal training would be you're trained on just text or trained on just bitmap images. Right. So does multimodal mean that you can have large language models that can combine 3D mesh data with image data and text data and video rendered data and triangulate or combine them in some way to create new generative systems? Is that how it works?
That's exactly it. So, back to Edify, one of the demos we have on the show floor here, that's exactly what that's showing, is a multimodal generative AI workflow. In that we're not just working with text and we're not just working with 2D imagery, we're working with 3D objects. We can have, as you mentioned, video. We could work with video. But the great thing about this is you're not stuck to just that one, media format or whatever that piece is. Yeah. Now you're combining all of these different things. And that really is endless there. When we can start to have, real world aspect added to putting a virtual 3D object on a real world object that we're using within this generative AI construction of things, with 2D imagery, with text prompting, with video, with whatever, right? That is the idea of this kind of unrestrained or unconfined ability to create with just about anything.
Yeah, so two things I want to mention about this. You've known me for several years, and if anyone's watched previous live streams I've been on, I'm very upfront about how some of these core concepts are very new to me, and I'm kind of coming in wide open as like a absolute beginner a lot of the time. So the multimodal, the term multimodal, it's self-explanatory, of course, but when I am faced with so much detail and nuance here, I love sort of really understanding it in the simplest way possible. And Craig was so good at, he was really patient with my questions, but he was also so good at communicating it really clearly to me, as you saw in that video. And what he was demonstrating, the Edify's multimodal Gen AI system, for many people who watch this live stream or have been keeping up with tech, they'll go, yeah, we get it, multimodal, that's cool. But for me, it was really eye-opening because it started to spark my imagination of what you can do if you have a system that truly understands different formats. It's not just about replicating how a human being thinks. In fact, that's so nuanced, right? It's more about coming up with a system where its utility is much more relevant to everyday life. Because when we go through life, we don't just look at images, and we don't just look at the three-dimensional world around us. We don't just listen to music, we hear spatial audio, and all the rest of it. So any system that can accompany you as you go through those different phases of your day in a meaningful way and adapt can only be all the more useful to you. So I feel like my understanding of what multimodal training is all about, it's about really coming up with more nuanced and richer systems that can just facilitate all the things that we wanted to facilitate. That's my layperson's understanding of the value there. And Craig's demo and Edify's system is a really compelling way of representing that idea, I think.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you guys got a chance to talk. I'm also very excited that that Aaron was able to sit down with you. Speaking of OpenUSD, you can't have a better expert probably interview than Aaron on our team.
Right.
And yeah, so he was all over the place at GTC, obviously. What did you guys chat about? It's anything specific regarding OpenUSD?
Yeah, I mean, it was my favorite topic because I use USD so much, and I'm such a believer in what it offers. We talked about a little bit of the history of OpenUSD from the days at Pixar, and he worked at Pixar for a bit before joining NVIDIA. So we talked a little bit about that, and so you can look forward to that in his interview. And I also talked about some of the new features that are being planned. There's no roadmap confirmed yet, but some new features for USD that'll be really handy. There's one called, I think it's called exec in USD, which adds a bit more of sort of like a logic to USD. And we also talked about some of the opportunities if you are working with USD in media and entertainment, so how to bring some of those learnings and best practices to other verticals, because Aaron works across multiple use cases for USD. So let's play a clip from that interview.
Okay, here's Aaron and Rafi at GTC.
There's two things I want to pick up on. Firstly, you spent several years at Pixar working on this stuff, USD, and in a environment where it's about storytelling and it's about feature films and production of that type, media and entertainment. When you came on board at NVIDIA, what was it like continuing to develop that kind of stuff with other sectors, so beyond media entertainment, and what are some of your learnings in this space?
Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about how, like, for me, a pipeline is a pipeline, right? And so, like, having worked with film pipelines for so long, you get a sense for how data travels. And actually, I mentioned this in my talk yesterday too, where almost every software developer I talk to, when they kind of get it with USD, they realize, oh, like, I've been doing this for over half my career anyway. This is just sort of a unified way for me to think about how I move data from application to application and from format to format and so on and so forth.
Yeah, Aaron was so awesome. That interview that I did with him goes deep into many areas of USD, and it's going to be released on the 2nd of May. But you don't have to wait that long to get some insights from Aaron, because his talk from OpenUSD Day, where he really set the tone and set the scene for what's happening in USD, I believe that's available, right, Edmar?
Yeah. Yep, those sessions should be available. And there's also a great playlist on YouTube of the superpowers of OpenUSD curated by Aaron. So we'll post those links in the chat as well. And then I actually, one of the people I was super excited to pair you up with is Max, because of your passion and your use of XR with your development for your own show. Tell me how it was meeting Max and what kind of information you guys kind of shared.
I think similar to Aaron, Max and I could probably have spoken and chatted for a whole day. We just hit it off because of those shared passions. And he's across the spatial work that's being done in NVIDIA. And we talked about how the Apple Vision Pro has onboard compute that kind of puts a ceiling on the kind of fidelity you can get in the visuals, but with now with cloud streaming via DGX, right? Is it DGX that NVIDIA has, right? with real-time ray tracing and streaming Omniverse data directly to the headset, it means that you no longer have to worry about the limits of onboard compute. You can get those visuals with that really amazing screen in the Apple Vision Pro. You get visuals that do it justice. So that was really a core focus of our discussion. Not just because it's cool to get amazing high-quality visuals in a spatial environment, but what that could mean for headset design going forward. Because if your compute is no longer limited to the one that's on the device, there's a bunch of headsets behind me there. I've got a Quest 2 and a Quest 1 somewhere there, and I've also got some headsets that plug into a PC. I still prefer the comfort of the Rift S because it's the lightest headset I have, and I can get all the juice I want from my workstation. Because that's what I use VR for. I use VR as a production tool, as a sculpting tool, as a visualization tool. I know that what's on a standalone headset, the computer is not going to be right for my purposes. I do scene layouts in Omniverse with VR because it feels like I'm set dressing and moving toys around. So when Max was telling me that all of that stuff is now possible via the cloud at whatever quality you want, it's got me excited for what that means for the hardware form factors that we're going to see in VR soon. And so there's two parts of this, the impact that this innovation is going to have. One is what you can do with the Vision Pro today, but then also what manufacturers are going to have to do moving forward. So let's play a clip from Max.
Okay, here's NVIDIA's Max Bickley with Rafi at GTC.
All these exciting pieces of technology are coming together for me as a media and entertainment professional, but you as someone who works in the whole spatial team, what are some of the things you're seeing in this space, and how do you view it in your team, the whole spatial computing element?
Yeah, so one thing that we're really trying to do with Omniverse is build a platform for people to build tools which can go to as many different places and display devices as you can imagine. And so the way we're going to do that is by moving a lot of our compute architecture into the cloud. Mm-hmm. And then now we can start to think of the ways in which we can access Omniverse either spatially or traditionally through 2D isn't limited by the workstation that you have at your feet. And I think this is really important for VR because, as we've noticed, more and more companies want to scale down the size of their headsets. We want the batteries to last longer. We want them to be lighter weight. We want them to be more comfortable to wear, not get so hot. And that's going to be at odds with people like yourself and some of our customers who want to keep growing the complexity of what they render. And so if we can successfully move that compute off of the device and into the cloud, now the device choices that people can make for how they consume what they build in Omniverse is really going to be limitless. We showed that this week with the Vision Pro, where we're streaming from GDN, which is our graphics delivery network, right into the Vision Pro. And so you get the best of what the Vision Pro offers, all that pass-through data, the local UI with all your local gestures, but you get this incredible ray trace data set that could never fit by itself on the Vision Pro. Right. And so I think for creators, that's going to allow them to really just make their content look incredible and as good as it can with RTX. And then all of our frameworks are there to let you pick and choose how you want to deliver it to people who want to see it.
That's awesome. What a great dev, amazing person. So I'm so glad you guys got to chat. I'm super excited for the future. Obviously being able to have a mission of enabling technology to be accessible no matter where you are and what you're using is very powerful. And I'm very excited about what this opens a door to for other points of view, which haven't really been able to get out there because of barriers to technology and access. So I think this is really just going to be an amazing point in time where we're seeing lots of new creators and inventors being able to do things as never before. So, I think you actually, we may have, I think we have one more left. I think with Mike Geyer, which so we have one more left. So I'm going to play Mike Geyer. Also, first time meeting Mike Geyer at GTC. You guys had a nice time talking, I heard.
Yeah, absolutely. The full interview with Mike Geyer is up. That was released a few days ago. So there's a couple out already. But yeah, Mike was great. So generous with his time. And again, patient with my questions because he really opened my eyes to the industrial metaverse. We talked about, amongst other things, we talked about going from this idea of going from a factory scale to a city scale to now planetary scale with the announcement of Earth 2 to investigate, climate change and those sorts of things. So one of the questions I had for him was like, how do you get your head around it? How do you even approach this challenge of going from what already seemed huge, a factory scale, to now planetary scale? So let's take a look at the clip from his interview.
I think it's a very fitting interview to finish off the live stream. We'll be right back in a second, but here's Mike Geyer from NVIDIA talking with Rafi.
Jensen talked about with the digital twin of Earth 2 is really kind of mind-blowing. When you think about creating a digital twin, a functioning 3D digital model that can predict weather patterns. And so what we're really trying to do is help the whole world determine when and if there might be a disaster coming so that we can get people out of the way, we can create safety, and really looking at the entire planet because you've got weather data. So anywhere that you've got comprehensive data, you can do AI prediction. And that's really what we're trying to do with Earth 2.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, how do you go from a factory scale to a city scale and then to a planetary scale? What's the infrastructure? How do you do that in Omniverse?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy for anybody, right? And so what it really comes down to is having the right data, having the right hierarchy of how you're going to structure the data, and using data taxonomies or data objects like USD. So USD is one of the key components of Omniverse. Those of you that are familiar with Omniverse have heard about it, but it's what really allows us to scale up and scale down from a factory to a city to the entire planet.
Wild. I'm so glad that you got to conduct these interviews at GTC and all these great conversations. For anyone who just missed it with Mike Geyer, the full interview is now available. I posted a link in the chat a couple minutes ago, so you can watch that full over 10-minute interview with Mike. Super revealing and insightful. Rafi, thank you so much for putting all this stuff together. I'm excited as these full interviews come out and getting everybody's feedback. Appreciate your great kind of evangelism and your information sharing of OpenUSD. I'm super excited what's in store for you in the future. So thank you for putting all this stuff together.
You're very welcome. I would just like to reiterate at GTC, connecting with these people, was a real treat for me, and learning about all these different industries. And it's not just me. You speak to anyone who's been to GTC, their mind has been, expanded. Their awareness has grown. And it doesn't take much. There's so many curious people there, and so many people that attend are generous with their time. It's like a conference like no other that I've been to. No one's doing the hard sell there. Everyone's passionate about these areas. They're happy to talk about what they do, but they're really interested in what you do, and how this whole community of enthusiasts for Omniverse, for USD, and Gen AI, how they're all kind of innovating in their own areas. And just purely from a mind expanding point of view, it was a real treat. And I managed to do a recap video every day while I was there. So there was lots of filming and shooting that I did throughout the day and throughout the week. So I'm excited for everyone to see some of these full interviews, because I certainly got a lot out of it, and hopefully others will too.
And what's the best way for people to keep up and follow you? Is it following you on LinkedIn? Is that the best place?
LinkedIn's pretty good. Just look for me, Rafi Nizam. And you could also, I blog about my the development of my show, Art Squad, on YouTube. So Rafi Animates is my YouTube handle. And in fact, on most socials, like Instagram, for example, it's Rafi Animates, because I'm an animator. But yeah, on LinkedIn, it's Rafi Nizam. It's probably the best place to check out what I do. And I tend to post on LinkedIn quite a bit, because it seems like the audience that is into the stuff I'm talking about seem to like it there as well.
Yeah, it's super high quality posts. I highly recommend everyone follow Rafi on LinkedIn and check out his other channels, including YouTube. And Chris Scott, what is the best way for someone to tap into your very, very amazing brain?
Right here on the live stream? No, I don't think there's a good way right now. So we're kind of behind closed doors until we finish our API development. And then after, because I'm a firm believer that we're going to really switch over. And so we're basically we buttoned up our business for like the next 6 months. And I think once the APIs are out, we're going to be very vocal on, okay, this is how we did it. This is how you get there. Because like our knowledge goes everywhere from rendering to videos to virtual production. And we do virtual production because we have to do live training, and we have to do training for like machines and augmented reality. And like, there's just so much information to do, especially with these factories and now cities and stuff like that. So right now, nothing. Sooner or later, the NVIDIA forums, and then eventually you won't be able to get rid of me.
That's not a bad thing at all. I'm very, very, very happy to have you here join us. Thank you both for being just amazing Omniverse ambassadors and really leveraging OpenUSD for your own work and sharing that with others, most importantly. We have an amazing live stream planned for next week also with the team from Mode Mason, who's leveraging OpenUSD for retail and commerce and the better customer experience. Actually, and Chris, you know these folks, right?
Yeah, so I on top of all the other things we don't tell people we do. Yeah, so with Mode Mason, we're really pushing the OpenUSD format to actually expand greater than just optical data, which is the future, because we need to do simulations. And as Rafi said, there's just not enough real data, right? Because we just can't get enough. And so at this point, it's like, how do we get more? How do we get something that we can train with physics, that we can train with more than? And so with Mode Mason, that's the start. And they're really leading the front to getting OpenUSD materials, and to start expanding what they're capable of all the way into like scientific realm.
And we're going to have Stephen Gay here, I think Jonathan Finger, and a couple of other developers from Mode Mason team. So that's going to be super exciting next week. I'm going to post a link in the chat for our calendar, the Mode Mason live stream, and the next upcoming live streams will be posted there shortly. So just subscribe or check that calendar out once in a while. The other exciting thing is fan favorite Damien Fagnew will be joining the live stream soon. Damien is amazing. I had a fun time with him at GTC. And so he's going to be talking about actually what Chris was just referencing and the APIs. So we're going to be talking about the next kit update. That Omniverse live stream is being planned right now. We're going to have Andrew Grant from the NVIDIA team, Drew Como. So that'll be action-packed as well. A lot of exciting stuff happening in OpenUSD world. And thank you all for coming along for the ride and diving in. Don't forget to submit your OpenUSD challenge. We would love to see everybody's work leveraging OpenUSD. And if you want to come and chat with other community members on the Discord, it's discord.gg/NVIDIA Omniverse. Speaking of Discord, I have to give a huge thank you, and the community is very thankful for my partner here, Richard. Richard, you have been very busy, not only on the forums, which you always are, but also really looks like since GTC, we've had a lot of more questions, a lot of more users. Our Discord traffic is way up, and we have you to thank for tackling some of those questions that might come from people who are just discovering the first time. So what's been the common theme with the questions you've been seeing?
Yeah, I think since GTC we've got a lot busier, and the good thing about Discord is I must admit it's kind of like live energy, as opposed to the forums are very good for a Q&A type thing or an investigation of a bug, but Discord's a fun place where we can come and we can chat, and there's different rooms of specialty. I tend to hang out in the renderings and the general questions, and lately have been a lot of feverish questions on light linking. I guess that's all week I've been getting into light linking, which is kind of a VFX thing, but it's a really good idea of like, if you have multiple lights or multiple objects, maybe you want certain lights for certain objects. So we've been looking at that, and there's always a great discussion, and there's some regulars on there that they get involved, and they're like, I tried this test and this didn't work, and I tried this, but yeah, I mean, feel free to come on by and ask any questions, find that room, and if you're not sure which room to use, just use general, and it's pretty addictive. I like to see what the community is talking about. It could be anything from physics to layers to USD formatting, whatever it might be,
Yeah, it's very lively community. So thank you all for participating in our Discord server, and thank you all for participating in this chat. Lots of great comments along the way. This full out. We have gone way over, but it's because there was so much great information. I really couldn't cut anything. So, Rafi, thanks once again for putting together all this information. I'm really excited for the coming months for you and your work, and I really again appreciate you sharing all this information with the public. That about does it for today. So thank you. We'll see you all in Discord and on the forums. And don't forget, next week we have the Mode Mason team. So thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Good job, Rafi. Bye, guys.